In today's video, I'm going to show you the top 3 altcoins that I'm watching in October 2024. These are cryptos that either have upcoming catalysts or have strong fundamentals through on-chain metrics. Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. My name is Patrick, and before I get into the video, reminder that nothing I say is financial advice. You still need to do your own research before buying any tokens that I talk about in this video. Now let's get into it. The first altcoin to watch this month is Stacks. That's the STX token. Stacks is a Bitcoin layer 2, which means that it's a smart contract network so you can build applications like DeFi. However, it ultimately settles onto Bitcoin, which is of course the largest, most decentralized, most secure crypto network. And what's really interesting is that Stacks has a major catalyst upcoming this month. They have their Nakamoto upgrade, which is currently scheduled to go live on October 9th. And to understand why this is so significant, you need to understand some of the downsides of Stacks as it currently exists. And by the way, some of you who watch this channel will remember that I did a couple articles and a couple videos on Stacks earlier this year. These deep dives are free on my Substack, unlike most of my deep dives, so I'll link them down below. But in full disclosure, earlier this year, this content was sponsored by Stacks. However, they're not sponsoring this video. This video I'm making solely on my own accord. And that being said, so you can get caught up on Stacks here if you want. But what's really interesting is that up until now, Stacks has actually been, in truth, pretty slow. It takes several minutes per transaction, really not a great user experience. However, the Nakamoto upgrade that again is scheduled to go live in just a week or two, the Nakamoto upgrade is going to make Stacks several orders of magnitude faster. Rather than taking minutes, it's just going to take a couple seconds for transactions. On top of that, transactions will now have 100% Bitcoin finality, meaning that they settle onto Bitcoin and are irreversible. And I think that's going to be really important to onboard people and truly allow Stacks to reap the benefits of settling onto Bitcoin. And that's actually not all. So in addition to this, here's a thread from someone who works at the Stacks Foundation. And if you look here, then they also have SBTC, which is scheduled to go live 4 weeks after the Nakamoto upgrade. And what this is it's a 1-to-1 Bitcoin-backed digital asset. So this is basically going to be a version of wrapped Bitcoin that's on Stacks. However, unlike WBTC, unlike CBBTC, unlike other forms of wrapped Bitcoin, this is on a Bitcoin layer 2. So transactions involving it are ultimately settling onto Bitcoin. And the way that Stacks is advertising it is that this is solving the decade-long Bitcoin right problem to unlock the full potential of the economy on Bitcoin. And so that brings to another important point. Stacks is not only currently slow, but it currently doesn't have a widely used wrapped version of Bitcoin. So despite that, it's managed to get over $200 million in deposits. So one way to look at this is that all of this DeFi on Stacks so far, it's basically been a trial run for when transactions get fast and when SBTC goes live. And so to me, those are two massive catalysts that are coming up. And I think that a lot of attention is going to go into Stacks when that happens. And it isn't just me saying this. If you look at a whole slew of well-regarded researchers and funds, then a whole lot of them have mentioned Stacks and SBTC as themes to watch for 2024. The second crypto to watch this month is Phantom, soon to be known as Sonic. Some of you might remember Phantom from 2021. It got a reputation as being an extremely fast chain with a lot of retail-focused DeFi projects on it. However, over the past few years, it has mostly been out of the headlines, but the team has been behind the scenes, heads down building, and they are now launching Sonic, which is going to be a new EVM layer 1 that promises to be extremely fast with 1-second confirmation times, 10,000 transactions per second, and less than 1 cent transaction cost on average. And they've already lined up a ton of huge backers, including some of the biggest names in DeFi. Curve Finance is already planning to launch there. And if you look at some of their backers, they include people like Sam Kazemian, the founder of Frax, by the way, who we interviewed on this channel recently, and others. In this recent tweet, Andre Cronje, one of the builders of Sonic, listed out some of the things to look forward to. The current plan is to go live in December 2024. And some of the ways they're attracting people are with 90% gas rebates. So if you build an application, you get 90% of the gas that users spend on it, a native stablecoin, a secure gateway to Ethereum. Some of you who used Phantom in the past might remember that part of the reason why it suffered so much during the bull market is that the main bridge people were using was exploited. That won't be an issue anymore with a secure gateway. They have grants available via Sonic Boom, grants available via the Innovator Fund, and a 200 million token airdrop. And let's talk a bit more about this Sonic Boom. So they have up to nearly $50 million of grants coming, aka 71 million Phantom tokens. And so the reason why I think this is really interesting is that, yes, Sonic is promising to be fast, right? And by the way, this Phantom tokens are converting to Sonic, in case that wasn't clear. So if you're saying, what does this old token have to do with this new thing? These Phantom tokens are going to migrate to the Sonic S token soon. And I expect a lot of hype to build as we get closer to that conversion, especially with all of these applications that are already promising to launch on the new Sonic chain. But the reason why these grants and the reason why this gas rebates and all these things are so important is that it's fast, but you actually need to get useful applications on there. You need to get applications that people are going to use, and I think that Phantom is doing a really good job of doing this. By the way, one anecdote is at Ethereum Denver, I went to Phantom Sonic's event, and most of the events I went to in Denver were mostly VC. Sometimes it was tough to even find anyone who was actually building anything at the event. But at Phantom's event, it was basically all developers who were building applications. And so I thought that was a really cool thing and shows their commitment to attracting developers. And the third and final coin to watch this month is Aerodrome. Aerodrome is the leading decentralized exchange on Coinbase's base chain, and its on-chain metrics are just off the charts. I'm going to dive into this in a second. So if you don't know what Aerodrome is at all, Aerodrome is a decentralized exchange on Base. In fact, it's the leading decentralized exchange on Base. So it lets you trade assets like Coinbase's CBBTC, like wrapped ETH, like stablecoins, and like other tokens that are on Base straight from your crypto wallet. And if you look at the actual metrics on Aerodrome recently, they have just been hitting all-time highs week after week. So throughout the summer, while the market was mostly flat, Aerodrome, you can see if you look at their volume, they steadily attracted volume. So basically, the market was flat, but they were building market share. They were building market share. And then suddenly, over the past few weeks, as the market picked up, as Coinbase launched their CBBTC, which is a wrapped version of Bitcoin on Base, Aerodrome was able to capitalize on all that and just hit new all-time highs across nearly every single metric. Their TVL raced past $1 billion, which is much higher than it was at its peak in April. Their volume hit a weekly all-time high last week by a long shot. I mean, it's really not even a comparison to the previous all-time high. And just overall, Aerodrome's metrics have been through the roof. By the way, if you guys want to learn more about these things before I talk about them on the channel, I have a newsletter, dynamodefi.substack.com, and a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, like metrics or catalysts or things like that, I covered them weeks or months ago in the newsletter. So sign up there to get these things ahead of time. But back to Aerodrome, what I think is really interesting is that not only are these metrics higher, but it's actually started to compete not just with Uniswap and other exchanges on Base, but it's actually started to be competitive with Ethereum mainnet itself. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If we look at the top pairs by volume on Dex Screener, then the top pair on Base is wrapped ETH and USDC on Aerodrome with $287 million over the past 24 hours. Now let's look at it on Ethereum. The top pair on Ethereum is also wrapped ETH USDC, this time on Uniswap, but with only $129 million. And we can see there's some other variants of this, so we'll add this other version that's wrapped ETH USDC, and that's another $94 million, which brings this total to around $219 million. So you can see even with adding those together, Base, and specifically Aerodrome on Base, is doing more volume than Uniswap on Ethereum mainnet for that crucial pair. Another example, if you look at Wrap BTC ETH, we can see 34.9 million over the past 24 hours. There's this other pool, another 13 million. So add those together, that's around $48 million. Let's look at it on Base. CBBTC wrapped ETH around 45 million, so just under. But the point is that compare the size of Aerodrome in terms of volume, in terms of their market share for these pairs, and compare it with the size of Uniswap, and then look at their market caps, right? And Aerodrome, the market cap is still less than $1 billion. So to me, I think that this is certainly worth watching, especially as Base's dominance in the crypto market and Base's usage just seems to go up every single week because of Coinbase's backing. And that's all for this month's update. To learn more about crypto and DeFi, be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Dynamo DeFi.